Hi everyone, this is Nia and today I'm going to not paint but draw with ink. I wanted to play with textures and see what I can come up with since I haven't drawn in pen for so long. I'm going to use this image that I took last year in early spring. This is the Schlossberg clock tower that I would say is the main landmark of Graz. I go there a lot whenever I want to take a long stroll or walk up a long flight of stairs after a huge meal. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to talk too much for this video, but I basically just started by sketching out the composition with pencil first so I can space it out since I have limited space. I tried to pick some of the features that I like from the photo and just use it to frame the main element of the composition, which will be this clock tower. This pencil sketch actually took me a while because I didn't realize how tall the clock tower actually was compared to my square sketchbook, but by the end of it I think I was quite happy with the scale and the height of this main feature. For the rest of the elements, I just looked at the picture and took some of the elements, simplify, stylized, and scale it according to the composition. And I also made it look a little bit more fun and illustrative. Then I'm going to go over everything with pen. Actually, after I finished the pencil sketch, I was itching to paint this with gouache because the composition just feels so whimsical and fun, kind of like a storybook setting, but I really wanted to draw with pen on this day, so I just went ahead and did it, and we'll see. I might go back to it again with gouache to do a different version if I feel like it on another day. So these are the main pens I'm going to be using. These are by Snowman and I usually outline my works using these. I'm going to use different weights as well depending on the larger spots. Originally though, I wanted to use my fountain pen since I haven't touched it again for a while, but I feel like a lot of the ink dried off and it was very slowly coming out of the nib. And I kept shaking it and got frustrated along the way because some of the ink fell on me and all over my hands instead of just flowing out of the nib. So I switched to my normal pens halfway through, which made it so much easier. I almost gave up, honestly, because it was getting so frustrating. Actually, looking back now, you can see the ink flowing out from the top of the nib. I had to press really hard because it wasn't flowing enough, which kind of disrupted the joy of drawing with ink. So I'm happy I switched to my normal pens. However, I do want to know if any of you have had this issue with fountain pens, and if any of you are experienced, how would you go about fixing it? Because I would still love to play around with this fountain pen because I do like the variety of strokes it can create. I was also thinking maybe it's because I tried to draw too quickly and the ink just wasn't flowing as quickly. So yeah, please let me know in the comments if you have any advice. This is where you can start to really see it. I had the same amount of pressure when I was drawing here, but you can see that barely of the ink came out as I was drawing the branches. So the lines were really thin. I just tried to shake it thinking that gravity will help. And I also tried to scratch on a scrap bit of paper before going back to this drawing. Anyway, I'm going to stop complaining now so you get to relax to the drawing. This isn't a tutorial since I just want to make a relaxing and chill video that you can have in the background as you're doing other things. But for those of you who are paying attention as you're watching this, I hope you still get to enjoy the video and learn something new from the process. finally adding the details for the clock tower. I wanted to do this close to last because I want to see what the surrounding elements will look like at first, just to know how much detail I can include so it stays balanced, since I want to include all the doodle textures as well. I also didn't realize how much the value matters here because I don't have colors this time. The depth and values has to come from the textures and how close the lines are with each other. It was too late though. Luckily, I haven't drawn on the clock tower at this point, but I made sure for the clock tower to stand out by at least making the main outline of the structure thick compared to the background. Since there's a lot of horizontal lines or textures, especially for the hills in the background, I want the sky to be different. I didn't want to leave it blank because I want the cloud to pop out more. So I decided to just do this simple and thin vertical lines quite far apart, so the value looks fairly light compared to everything else, but not as light as the blank cloud. I've left out the detail of the clock because I didn't want to erase very tiny details as I was sketching before and then accidentally erasing the surrounding area. So now I'm just going to help myself by sketching the details since everything else is set. The picture is fairly small and I couldn't really see clearly, so I kind of made things up along the way as well. The hands of the clock is a bit confusing. I read that originally they only had one hand for the hour of the day and that they only later added the minute hand. Also, the Roman numerals are a bit different to what I'm used to. You can see that there are 4 lines for the 4 instead of 1V or IV. But I guess that's how it was written a long time ago. This clock tower is placed on a hill called Schlossberg, and this hill was used as a fortress back in the 16th century. It's very interesting when you see it because the hill is right in the middle of the city center, surrounded by buildings. I personally really like this spot because I just feel like it has a cozy vibe to it, and this is where they hold one of the Christmas markets in the city on top of this hill, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm pretty close to finishing here. I know that this is very different to what I'm used to posting, but I hope you still enjoyed it. For me, it was much more enjoyable after I was able to control my pen, but at the beginning it was kind of rough. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for weekly updates. Like usual, the list of tools as well as my social media links will be in the description box if you made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye!